I'm Sloan Archer, 29, and I still measure time in shots and shifts. 2 espressos to wake up, 4 hours to prep, 1 lifetime to build a coffee shop with my name on the lease, until someone erased me. Portland wakes up like a cat. Slowly, then all at once. Fog hangs low on Alberta Street, softening the murals. I balance a tray of croissants against my hip and key into Blue Finch, the indie café I built from a Craigslist oven and a prayer. The door stops. My key bites, then skids. Different lock. I blink at the brass like it personally betrayed me. We changed locks last winter after a break-in, but I have the new key on my ring. I try again. Metal on metal. Nothing. There's a sheet of paper taped inside the glass. Temporary closure, renovations. The font is corporate clean, a subtle smirk. Hey, I rap the window. Who put this up? A man in a branded windbreaker appears from the back hallway I can see through the glass. He looks at me like a package left at the wrong address. I mouth, I own this place. He mouths back, 1 second. My phone buzzes. Subject, asset purchase agreement, closed. From evanbluefinchcoffee.com. I don't open it, I don't need to. My skin already knows. Evan Whitaker, my business partner, my supposed 50-50, numbers guy. Charming in a soft jawline way. For 2 years, he tracked inventory and rent while I ran the bar, trained the baristas, hosted open mics and baby showers and PTA fundraisers. We only fought about playlists and pastry suppliers. The man in the windbreaker unlocks the door from inside. Can I help you? He asks, stepping halfway out. I'm Sloan, I say, voice too bright. Owner. He shifts. I'm Chad, district operations for Morning Maven. Morning Maven, the chain with stores that smell like cinnamon gum and compliance training. We're just doing a walkthrough, Chad says. Transition team's here at 8. Transition? I push past him into the cafe that still smells like yesterday's roast. Transition to what? He gestures at a stack of glossy boxes. Each one says, brand standard kit. My throat tightens. Our chalkboard menu is missing. The hand-lettered one with ink smudges, where I leaned my fingers. In its place, taped artboard with placeholder photos of drinks that look like plastic. I find my way behind the bar by muscle memory. The La Marzocco hums, my second heartbeat. The machine I bought cash after 6 months of pop-ups. The stainless reflects my face back at me. Pale, blinking, ridiculous. It hits me in fragments I can't arrange. The late nights, the early linens, the community board where neighbors posted lost cats and drums teachers. The first time a line curled out the door and stayed. You can't be in here, Chad says, softer. Per the purchase agreement. What purchase agreement? I ask, but my voice is already a tremor. Where's Evan? On his way, Chad glances at his watch. Look, I'm not trying to be. This is just my job. The back door swings. Evan walks in like it's any other Wednesday. He looks surprised to see me, then small annoyed, then smooth again. He's always had a good recovery. Sloan, he says, we were going to talk at 8. We're talking now. My hands flatten on the sticky mat like I'm steadying a boat. He doesn't meet my eyes. It's done, he says. The sale closed at 7:30. It's better this way. They're keeping the staff. You'll get a payout. I laugh once, rough and wrong. A payout for what, Evan? For the life I built while you took meetings? His jaw flexes. You had founder's equity with vesting tied to revenue milestones, per the revised operating agreement. What revised? The words drop off. You never showed me a revised anything. I emailed in May. He shrugs. DocuSigned. I never signed. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to. The email on my phone hums like a hornet. My chest goes cold, then hot. I pull up my inbox and search my own name. A thread pops up from 3 months ago. Subject. Blue Finch LLC, AO amendment. Attached PDF, green checkmark from DocuSign beside my name. There's a second where my brain tries to find the loophole where this is a prank or a social experiment or a misunderstanding between friends who co-signed a dream. Then the second passes. Everything inside me becomes very quiet. Show me, I say. Evan swipes at his phone, sends me the asset purchase agreement. I open it. A 42-page serif knife. Schedule. A. Members and percentages. Manager, Evan Whitaker. Member, Morning Maven Acquisition Corp. And me? There's a clause that reads like a mouthful of glass. Founding consultant services previously compensated in kind. No continuing interest. Founding consultant. Consultant like I stopped by once and gave an opinion on a bean. I look up. The world tilts. Remember when we painted the walls, I say, as if this is the counter-argument that will wake him. I held the drop cloth while you learned what a roller was. Sloan, he sighs. This is business. We were bleeding on margins. The landlord wanted a corporate tenant. Maven can centralize costs. It's a win. For who? My voice cracks. For you? He doesn't answer. The landlord, Mr. Klein, slips in, trying to be invisible. He nods at Evan. He avoids me. So that's it? I ask no one and everyone. You erase me with a PDF and a locksmith. Chad clears his throat. If you could collect your personal items before 8, that would be... Before 8, I repeat, and the words feel like they bounce off a wall inside me and come back as pure heat. Got it. Plenty of time to collect a life. I walk to the back office. My office. The corkboard I built out of pallet wood holds 2 years of sky. Polaroids, event flyers, a kid's crayon drawing of a latte with a smile, a mason jar of pens, the first dollar we made, crisp and arrogant. On the desk is a manila folder with a notary stamp on the top document. Consent of member. The signature line reads, Sloan Archer. It looks like my name. It isn't my hand. Something in me fractures, but not the part that screams. It's the part that listens. In my head, I hear my mother. She taught me to bake bread by feel. Don't bully the dough, she'd say. Know what it wants, then guide it. What does this moment want? It wants me to cry and leave. It wants me to be small. It wants me to forget there are cameras. Bluefinch has 2 security cameras. One over the register, one looking at the back office door. We installed them after a cash drawer went light for a week, and then mysteriously righted itself when I mentioned cameras. The feeds back up to a little black box under the desk, and to a cloud account Evan never bothered to rename. I kneel and tug the black box out. It whirs, stubborn and faithful. Sloan? Evan's voice is tight at the door. Let's not make a scene. I don't look at him. I log into the cloud account with muscle memory and a password. Only I would choose. Winterlark, hour. The dashboard blooms with dates and thumbnails. I scroll to last Friday night. The timestamp reads 11:52 p.m., after close. The back office camera shows Evan turning on the desk lamp. He's alone, careful. He lays out papers. A woman steps in wearing a blazer and a tote bag with a notary seal pin. They talk. He points to a signature line. She stamps. He picks up a pen. My stomach climbs into my throat. He signs. He flips the page. He signs again. But the second signature is mine. Or rather, it's my name in a shape that isn't my hand, but would fool a scanner and a man who wants to be fooled. I pause the video and lean in until the pixels blur. The tail on the R is wrong. I taught myself that flourish at 15 and never let it go. Don't, Evan says behind me. Don't do this. I turn the volume up. Their conversation is low, but the mic catches the notary's voice clearly. So you're affirming the member consent for Sloan Archer? I'm the managing member, Evan says. She authorized me. Authorized. As if I would authorize my own disappearance. My hands are shaking, but my mind is steel. I copy the clip to a thumb drive I keep taped under the desk, because I am the kind of person who tapes thumb drives where no one looks. I email the file to myself. Then I airdrop it to my phone, label it with the date and the word forge, like a command. When I stand, the room feels different, bigger, like a stage, like a courtroom. I look at Evan. He looks at me. For a flicker-long moment, I see the version of him who cried laughing when our first wedding party bought out the house, and we rang the bell and gave out free cold brew. The version who said, "We're a neighborhood, not a brand." I also see the version in front of me, who brought a chain into my home while I slept. "Get out," he says, but it sounds like a plea. I walk past him through the narrow hall, heart pounding, the black box in my tote, the thumb drive halting against my keys. Chad is in the front now, talking to 2 more windbreakers and a locksmith setting up a drill. A couple of regulars stand outside peering in, confused. I catch their eyes and try to smile. I fail. On the counter, under the register, is the community tip jar with the sticker that says, Barista Dreams Fund. It's half full of singles and coins. I press my palm to the glass like it's the forehead of a fevered child. I feel gutted and humiliated. A hollow organ where a heart should be. But under the hollow, something else is waking up, bright, clean, cold. Rage, not the wild kind, the surgical kind. I pull out my phone and open my photos. It's second nature to frame the counter, the boxes, the branded windbreakers, to capture the drill lined up with my door, to capture the chalkboard missing and my barista's name stripped from the schedule posted by the pastry case. My thumb hovers over Go Live. I don't press it, not yet, because revenge deserves mise en place, the same way a perfect pour does. Measure, heat, bloom, pour slow. Ma'am, the locksmith says gently, you'll need to step aside. I do. I step aside, and as the drill bites into the lock of the place I built with my hands, my phone buzzes with a calendar invite I didn't create. New owner transition, 8 a.m., attendees, Evan, morning maven ops, landlord. I decline the invite. Then I forward it to someone named Press, and to a neighborhood group thread I started during the winter storm, and to a council member who once told me Blue Finch kept this block alive. I look up at Evan. He's pale. He knows. What are you doing? He whispers. I smile, or something like it. I'm setting the table, I say. The drill stops. The new key turns. The corporate boxes shuffle closer like weather. I put my hand on the door. I breathe once. Then I hear a ping. Another email. Subject: cease and desist. Unauthorized use of trademark. From Morning Maven Legal. I open it. I read the first line. My eyes widen. And that's when the front window explodes in light. News cameras, or phones raised, or just the sun finally finding us. And I realize the whole neighborhood is outside, watching. The cease and desist sits on my screen like a syrup spill, sticky and spreading. Unauthorized use of trademark Blue Finch and trade dress, it says. Vacate premises and refrain from public statements that may confuse consumers. Confuse consumers, as if my neighbors were goldfish. Outside, phones are up, faces pressed to glass. I step into the doorway and the crowd hushes like a cappuccino foam settling. I'm Sloan, I say, calm I don't feel. If you've ever studied for finals at our corner table, borrowed a charger, taped a flyer to our board, or cried into a macchiato, this is your place too. And someone sold it without asking you. A ripple moves through them, a few whoops. Someone yells, "We got you, Sloan." Then I pull back, because this isn't the speech. This is mise en place. I text Danny, my shift lead. She's 23, blue hair under a beanie, wrists inked with vines and tiny birds. Emergency staff meetup. Back alley, 10. Wear layers. Bring the square readers from your tote. And donuts if you pass Powell's. She responds with 3 knives and a bird emoji. I step away from the door. Evan watches me like I'm a live wire. We can talk, he says, quiet. There's money for you in this. There's me for me in this, I say, and keep moving. By 10, the alley smells like rain and old beans. Danny shows up with half the crew. Mateo, our latte art savant. Priya, logistics queen. And Jax, night shift poet who writes receipts with haikus. They're bright-eyed and furious. Danny grabs my hands. What do you need? I lay it out fast, bullet points in my brain. Pop up across the street today. We're not violating their premises. We serve coffee from donated gear. We're a protest, not a vendor. Mateo nods. I can borrow a 2-burner from my cousin's taco cart. Bring it, I say. Priya, QR codes. 1 for legal fund, 1 for newsletter, 1 for volunteer shifts, 1 for witness uploads. I want everyone's photos. Got it. She's already building a Linktree named Keep Blue Finch Indie. Jax, signage, and chants that don't sound like a condo developer's Facebook group. He grins. I've been training for this. And all of you, I add. No intimidation, no threats, no blocking doorways. We're colder than corporate HR and sweeter than cane sugar. Cameras love calm. I show them the forged signature clip. Silence locks the alley for 6 heartbeats. Mateo whispers, "He forged you?" He forged a version of me, I say. We're going to introduce the world to the original. I call Ria Patel, a freelancer who covered our mutual aid table during the wildfire smoke. She picks up on the second ring. Tell me it's not true. It is, I say, and I have video. I'm on my bike, she says. 20 minutes. I text Counselor Ortega, the one who once declared our corner the city's living room. She replies with, "At City Hall. Keep it lawful. I'm sending a staffer to observe." Lawful is my favorite flavor. Next, I forward the cease and desist to an attorney I once served long black decaf to. After her shift at the legal aid clinic. Her name is Lydia Chen. I never forget a name or a drink order. She calls me back in 3 minutes flat. Don't go live until I look at the C&D, she says. Stay away from their marks. Don't claim you're the current owner, and don't use their copyrighted photos. I'm not, I say. I'm using mine. Good, Lydia says. Also, that video? If the notary didn't witness you in person, and there's false attestation, that's not just a civil problem. That can be criminal. But we need a chain of custody and metadata, and we need to consider the anti-SLAPP statute if they try to gag you for speaking. Speak to me like I'm on 2 hours of sleep, I say. She smiles in her voice. Record everything. Don't accuse. Present. Here's what the camera saw is safer than he forged this. And Sloan? Yeah? Don't get arrested today. No promises, I say, and hang up a little lighter. By noon, our pop-up blooms like a field of hands. Neighbors bring extension cords, folding tables, camping kettles, and 3 bags of local beans so fresh they squeak. Priya tapes QR codes to traffic cones. Danny chalks community takeover in block letters across the sidewalk. We move like a kitchen on a Friday night. I'm back in my skin. Rhea arrives, helmet under her arm, camera on her hip. She kisses my cheek in that friend reporter way where she's both on and present. Sources on or off the record, she asks. Me on, staff, ask them. Footage, yes, blur faces if requested. We're not making martyrs out of baristas who need to pay rent. She nods. What's the ask? Short term, I say. We stop the chain from taking possession. Medium term, we prove the sale's tainted. Long term, we buy the building or secure a community land trust and take Bluefinch off the table forever. She blinks. That's 3 arcs. It's a series, I say. Welcome to episode 1. She laughs, then gets to work. Across the street, Chad watches us with a clipboard. He's the kind of professional who thinks empathy is bad for time management. Klein, I call to the landlord through the open door. Come get a donut. He pretends not to hear me. At 2, the first obstacle arrives in a beige windbreaker and a plastic badge that reads, Environmental Health. Pop-up service of food without a permit, he says, eyeing our kettles. We are not vending, I say, smiling like a laminated poster. This is a First Amendment assembly providing free refreshments donated by individuals, not a commercial activity. Would you like a coffee? He blinks. His partner flips a page on a clipboard. Priya slides a typed memo across the table like a magician revealing doves. To whom it may concern, this assembly is a non-commercial protest and press conference. All beverages are free. No tips are accepted at point of service. Donations are processed separately to an unrelated legal fund. The inspector sighs in a way that tells me he's had a morning. He softens. Keep walkways clear, he says. No extension cords across the curb cut. Yes, chef, I say. He almost smiles. A teenager in a denim jacket hands me her phone. Can I interview you for TikTok? I nod. She asks what Bluefinch means to me. Home, I say. And home isn't something you franchise. The comments fly faster than I can read. One says, do a block party tonight. Another, I'm a notary. What you just described is fraud. Another, I work at Maven HQ. Check your DMs. My heart ticks up. I open my requests. There's a message from Maven Helper, no avatar. They're telling ops to soft close and rehiring only 60% in 30 days. Script includes normalize new pricing and reduce community board clutter. Also, side letter W. landlord. Something about TI reimbursement if community partner acquiesces. I can send the deck if you promise to scrub my info. I type, promise, send. 2 minutes later, a PDF lands in my inbox titled Project Skylark, Integration Playbook. I open it. It's glossy and bland and quietly cruel. Rhea peers over my shoulder. That name, she says. Skylark. I smile without humor. Birds, I say. They're trying to turn my finch into their lark. We pull out the juicy slides. Staff optimization timeline. Brand uniformity protocol. Community messaging risk mitigation. And there it is. Landlord incentive rider, offering a kickback if integration timeline is met without incident. Without incident, I murmur. Define incident. People caring, Rhea says. By 4, the sidewalk is a festival. A brass trio sets up near the bike rack. Someone strings fairy lights. A teacher I know brings stacks of poster board. Kids draw birds with boxing gloves. I write a run of show on the back of a pastry box. 6 p.m. Press announcement, me. 6:05. Rhea Q&A. 6:10 staff statements voluntary. 6:20, play surveillance clip. 6:25, announce community trust and legal fund. 6:30, music plus march around the block once, quietly. Danny slides me a protein bar. Eat, she orders. Hero hypoglycemia is a bad look. I bite. She's right. For a second, the noise drops out and the day catches up with me. My hands shake. I think about my mother's bread lesson again. Don't bully the dough. Know what it wants. Guide it. What does this want? A clean pour, a steady voice, a plan with spine and mercy. I look across the street. Inside, Evan paces. He can see the fairy lights. He can hear the horns. He looks for the first time today, a little scared. He steps out, crosses to me. His smile is broken glass. Call it off, he says. You'll ruin your reputation. You already tried, I say. It didn't take. You don't understand, he says, lowering his voice. There's more to this. Klein, save it for discovery, I say, and turn away. He grabs my elbow, then lets go when he remembers that cameras exist. I'm warning you, he says. Then get in line, I say. At 5:45, the sky goes that Portland lavender that makes the world look filtered. We hang a bedsheet on the brick wall and aim a borrowed projector at it. Priya does a sound check on a megaphone. Mateo pours test cups. Lydia arrives in a blazer and boots, hair in a low knot, the look of a woman who files TROs before lunch and bakes pies on Sundays. She hugs me, quick and human. I've reviewed the C&D, she says, moving fast. They're overreaching. You can say your story, you can name the parties, you can show your own footage. Do not use their logos or claim you're operating Bluefinch today. I'm operating Sloan Archer today, I say. Perfect, she says. Also, I filed a records request for the notary commission. If her log doesn't show your signing, we've got something hot. Speaking of, I say, what if she showed up? Lydia raises an eyebrow. Why? Because at that moment, over Lydia's shoulder, I see a woman standing near the curb in a blazer and a tote bag, with a notary seal pin. It's her, from the video. She looks smaller without the desk lamp. She looks like someone who hasn't slept. Our eyes lock. She lifts her hand as if to wave, but stops. She mouths something I can't read. Later, Lydia says, following my gaze, we control the sequence. Rhea gives me a 5-minute sign. Danny fixes my hair with a bobby pin from nowhere. I step up to the mic. Thank you for coming, I begin, voice steady. I'm Sloan Archer. For 2 years, Bluefinch has been a third place for this neighborhood. This morning, my former partner sold our shop to a corporate chain without my consent. I want to show you how. I nod at Priya. She taps the laptop. The projector hums. And then everything goes black. Not night, power. The fairy lights snuff. The projector dies. The kettles go quiet. A hush drops over the crowd like a blanket. Across the street, Morning Maven's overheads glow on, smug as a screensaver. Klein, the landlord, appears with 2 uniformed officers and a man carrying a thick envelope. The process server clears his throat. Ms. Archer, he calls. You've been served. Temporary restraining order. You are enjoined from using the mark Bluefinch in any public context, and from approaching the premises within 200 feet. The crowd murmurs. Lydia steps forward, already flipping pages, already scanning. The notary in the blazer pushes through the edge of the crowd, face pale. Her voice shakes. Sloan, she says, loud enough for the nearest phones to catch. We need to talk privately. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Every camera on the block turns. I take a breath, 1 heartbeat long. Then I smile into the dark. The dark holds longer than it should. Phones glow like lightning bugs. Someone whispers, they cut the power. And maybe they did. I stay still, mic in hand, until I feel the crowd's breath sinking with mine. Then I say softly but clear, they can turn off the lights. They can't turn off witnesses. Applause cracks through the night like thunder finding the ground. Rhea's camera light flicks on. A bright white coin in the dark. She swings it toward me. The crowd's phones follow, hundreds of tiny spotlights. Suddenly I'm on stage in a constellation made of neighbors. Lydia edges up beside me, her voice calm but urgent. We'll challenge the TRO. Don't use the mark. Keep speaking as yourself. I nod. I'm done being anyone else anyway. Okay, I say into the glow. Let's try this again, with batteries. Priya improvises like a magician. She sets up the laptop on a battery pack and projects the surveillance clip onto the wall again. It flickers, grainy and ghost-like, but it works. There's a collective inhale as Evan appears on screen, pen in hand, beside the notary. Gasps ripple when my signature shows up in ink that isn't mine. Then silence. Heavy, electric, righteous. The notary in the blazer is crying now, quietly, in the front row. I lower the mic and walk to her. "What's your name?" I ask gently. "Marianne," she whispers. "Marianne Blake. I'm so sorry, I didn't." He said you were out of town and had authorized it electronically. He even showed me an email. "Did you check my ID?" She shakes her head. He said corporate member authorization was enough. I was behind on my quota. It was late. Behind us, phones keep filming. The truth, once it starts, doesn't stop for shame. Lydia steps in smoothly. "Ms. Blake, would you be willing to provide a sworn statement about what happened?" Marianne nods, trembling. "Yes, I'll tell everything. I quit this morning." The crowd murmurs, not angry now, just stunned. I take her hand, and something inside me unclenches. "Thank you," I say. "You just changed everything." Across the street, Evan is a shadow behind glass. His phone glows blue against his cheek. I know that look, damage control mode. He's calling someone bigger than himself. I step back to the mic. "Everyone here," I say, "is part of the record now. What you saw matters. If you have photos or video, upload them to the link on the board. This isn't about vengeance. It's about visibility." A cheer goes up. Someone starts a chant, low, rhythmic, rising, "Our block, our brew, our bluefinch too." I wince at the trademark risk, but smile anyway. Lydia whispers, "We'll call it a metaphor." By 9 p.m., the press has arrived in force. Tripods, boom mics, satellite vans blocking bike lanes. Rhea moves like a conductor, introducing me to anchors and live streamers. Each time, I tell the same story. Simple, clear, unshakable. Evan forged a sale. The landlord enabled it. We're building something cleaner in its ashes. I call it the Bluefinch Collective. Though legally it's just Finch Community Project. A pop-up coffee co-op owned by its workers and neighbors. We crowdfund live on stream. Within 2 hours, donations hit $20,000. By midnight, $50,000. By dawn, local papers run headlines. Barista army fights back against corporate takeover. But that night, after the last cup is poured, after the crowd thins, after Rhea hugs me and promises to keep the cameras rolling, I walk alone down Alberta Street. The fog has returned. Portland's neon hums, half magic, half ache. My hands smell like espresso and adrenaline. At the corner, I see a flyer taped to a lamppost. Community Land Trust Meeting, tomorrow 6 p.m. Organizer, Councillor Ortega. And beneath it, in marker, someone wrote, "Save our spaces." I smile. It's spreading. Then my phone buzzes. Unknown number. I answer. Evan's voice, cracked and quiet. "You think you've won?" he says. "No," I say. "I think we've started." He exhales hard. "You have no idea who you're messing with." "Then educate me," I say. A pause. Then, Klein wasn't the one who pushed the sale. He was just the landlord. Maven's parent company, Helios Brands. They've been buying up small shops across the coast. They want to franchise the aesthetic Sloan. You, your story, your face. They want authenticity as a product. My stomach turns. So they steal local identity and resell it. He laughs bitterly. "Exactly. You were never just coffee. You were inventory." The line goes dead. I stand under the streetlight, breath fogging. Inventory. A brand they thought they could buy. No, not anymore. I open notes on my phone and type a headline. Project Skylark. How corporations monetize authenticity. Then I hit share, to Rhea, to Lydia, to the community list. If they want authenticity as a product, I'll make it public property. Next morning, my face is everywhere. Clips of me confronting the notary, photos of the blackout rally, tweets quoting my line. They can turn off the lights. They can't turn off witnesses. By noon, Bluefinch Truth trends nationwide. At 2 p.m., Helios Brands releases a statement denying wrongdoing and promising a transparent internal review. Rhea calls it corporate astrology, vague promises under a shiny sign. Lydia calls me from her office. The city attorney just opened an inquiry into the forged documents, she says. They subpoenaed the notary's log. You might want to prepare for deposition. Anything I should worry about? Just tell the truth, she says. It's working so far. I laugh, tired but lighter. The truth. Imagine that. My new currency. That evening, I meet Marianne again in a cafe across town. Not mine, not Maven's, just neutral ground. She hands me a folder. Inside, her official statement, notarized by a different agent, plus screenshots of Evan's text telling her what to say. He told me he'd lose everything if it didn't go through, she says. I believed him. Now I know I helped him steal yours. I take her hand. We both fix it now. She nods, eyes wet. You already started. I leave the cafe and exhale into the rain. For the first time in weeks, the air doesn't taste like loss. Then my phone buzzes again. Another message from Maven Helper. Internal email thread leaked. Helios execs discussing containment strategy. They plan to sue you personally for defamation and interference. Subject line. Terminate the Finch problem. My pulse spikes. I text Lydia one word. Incoming. She replies instantly. Let them file. Discovery's a two-way street. I grin. They wanted a franchise. They got a revolution. And revolutions, like coffee, start with a spark. Morning tastes like pennies and bad coffee I didn't make. By 8 a.m., Lydia and I are in a courtroom that smells like paper and old air. The TRO hearing runs hot and fast. Helios's lawyer in a navy suit the color of authority. Me in a thrifted blazer that still smells faintly like someone else's perfume. He argues I'm pirating goodwill. Lydia counters with the First Amendment, the forged paperwork, and a stack of sworn statements from neighbors who would rather be at work than watching me try not to shake. The judge narrows his eyes at the projector stills of my not-quite signature. Then he narrows the TRO. No use of the exact mark Blue Finch, he says, peering over his glasses. But Ms. Archer may speak about her experience and the events at issue. She may assemble on the public sidewalk, provided she does not obstruct access. That's a heartbeat of daylight, enough to breathe. Outside, Rhea catches me on the steps. How do you feel? She asks. Like someone cracked a window, I say. Small draft. Big relief. We don't celebrate. We sprint. At noon, the Community Land Trust meeting overflows a library room that never asked for this many feelings on a Wednesday. Counselor Ortega stands with a dry erase marker, like a conductor with a wand. We're exploring a community buy, she says, if we can get the owner to the table. Klein, the landlord, isn't here, but his reputation is arriving early, leaving with favors. I pitch the idea I wrote in my notes at 2 a.m. Finch Community Project becomes a member-owned co-op that leases from the trust. We raise a down payment, ask the city to match with a preservation grant, and lock in a 99-year lease at a rent that doesn't make my stomach do parkour. Hands shoot up. A teacher offers to run a pledge drive at school. A baker offers weekly proceeds. An architect sketches pro bono, keep the soul plans on a legal pad already smudged with desire. Then Priya slides in next to me, eyes wide. Update, she whispers. From Maven Helper. Helios has a letter of intent to buy the building itself, not just the business. Closing in 15 days. There's a rider that accelerates their payout to Klein if there's no public disorder. I feel my molars grind. No public disorder, I repeat. Define disorder? Us, she says, existing publicly. Counselor Ortega hears us, pivots like a point guard. Then we have 14 days to make it expensive to ignore us, she says, and 1 day to choose roles. We build a wall out of sticky notes, legal, comms, pledges, events, ops, wellness. Danny takes ops like a general. Jax claims comms and grins like he found his war. Mateo signs up for wellness because he's seen what adrenaline does to hands. Lydia steps to the front. I'll move on an injunction to preserve the status quo pending the forgery investigation, she says. We'll also file a motion to compel discovery on Helios and Klein's side letter. Discovery, I echo, my new favorite word. That afternoon, I sit on a milk crate behind our pop-up, elbows on knees, body buzzing with the kind of tired that feels like wearing wet denim. Across the street, Morning Maven has their brand kit unboxed. Their menu glows a clean, unearned white. Uniforms ironed, smiles pressed. Evan stands inside, phone to ear, face a mask that doesn't fit. He looks at me once, then looks away like the sun hurt him. Rhea crouches down beside me. How's the voice? She asks. Frayed, I say, but still here. She lowers her camera, rare. You can stop if you need to. I can't, I say, and mean it. Inside my chest, a small window remains open. The draft is hope, the chill is risk. I text my mother, bread lesson still works. She replies with a heart and a recipe photo older than my coffee habit. At 5 p.m., we kick off 48 hours for the corner. A continuous, lawful, joyful presence with coffee, music, and a donation ticker big enough to shame rich people. The brass trio returns. A poet reads about hands that remember heat. A retired electrician strings safe lights so the power game stays ours. Priya's QR dashboard flips from hundreds to thousands. By midnight, $91,240. By 3 a.m., $128,880. By dawn, $105,000.06. Because somewhere a child emptied a piggy bank, and I am not okay about it. Danny pushes a cup into my hand every 40 minutes like clockwork. Drink, she says. Don't make me pour it into your mouth. Bossy, I say. Learned from the best, she says, and winks. At 9 a.m., Lydia calls with a voice that means both good and brace. I filed, she says. And we drew a judge who still believes contracts should be signed by the people whose names are on them. But brace. Helios filed a civil complaint overnight. Defamation and tortious interference. How much? 8 figures, she says. It's theater. They're trying to scare donors and lock your accounts with an ex parte freeze. My stomach drops like a bad elevator. Our money? Not yet, she says. I'm heading to court to fight the freeze. Tell Priya to mirror the funds to a fiscal sponsor we lined up last night. The Arts Alliance. They'll hold donations in trust until the smoke clears. I love you, I blurt. She laughs. Billable love, keep your phone on. I hang up and relay orders. Priya's fingers fly. Within 10 minutes, the donation banner updates. Funds held via Portland Arts Alliance. Someone starts clapping like we landed a plane. Jax hands me a new sign. We are not a brand. We are a block. I grin, hold it up, and watch phones translate cardboard into momentum. Midday, Marianne walks up clutching a brown envelope. She looks lighter, like Conscience lost 5 pounds. I pulled my notary log, she says. The day Evan had me stamp. The line for your name is blank. I lied on a public record. I'm ready to make it right under oath. I hug her in front of everyone. It feels like defiance and absolution at once. Across the street, Evan watches again. He flinches at hugs, which tells me he forgot they are contagious. By late afternoon, Councilor Ortega brings news like a baton change in a relay. The city attorney joined Lydia's motion, she says. They're asking the court to preserve existing tenancy arrangements until the investigation concludes. Existing tenancy? Danny asks. We're locked out. For now, Ortega says. But if the court freezes any transfer of possession, Helios can't gut the place in the meantime. Also, she smiles, fierce. The council is drafting a community stewardship zone pilot. It's not law yet, but it's a line in the sand. I exhale like I've been holding my breath since the day the lock turned. Thank you, I say, and I'll say it into every microphone. Please do, she says. We like microphones when you hold them. At 6 p.m., the brass trio gives way to a choir that isn't a choir until it sings. 20 neighbors who think they're bad at harmonies stack notes into a wall sound can't breach. We dim the safe lights. We project our pledge totals onto the brick like a scoreboard. 212, 340, and climbing. That's when Priya's face goes gray. She holds up her phone like it weighs more than the moon. Emergency, she says. Our bank just flagged a hold. The Helios motion hit their system before Lydia could argue. Pending review, account access, limited. My mouth goes dry. How much? Everything's sitting in the old account, she says. Not the Arts Alliance funds. They're safe. But the first $80K, we can't touch it until the bank clears legal. A murmur ripples through the crowd. A low earthquake under good intentions. I take the mic, keep my voice steady. Okay, I say. We planned for this. The new funds are safe at the Alliance. The old funds are paused, not gone. We'll need patience and a delivery van pulls to the curb like an answer nobody requested. 2 more slide in behind it. Their doors open in practiced unison. Workers hop out with drills and vinyl. A roll of branded wallpaper unspools like a flag. Chad from Morning Maven steps onto the sidewalk with a folded permit. His smile says, inevitable. We have a lawful right of entry to install interior finishes, he announces to no one and everyone. Per our agreement with the property owner. The choir goes quiet. The brass players lower their horns. The safe lights hum. I walk to the curb until the tape line the police asked us to keep kisses my toes. Per our agreement with the neighborhood, I say into the mic. We're going to read that permit. Chad hands it like he's dealing a card. Lydia reads over my shoulder in 3 seconds that take a year. It's flimsy, she murmurs, but not illegal. If they cross the threshold now, they can claim continued possession. If we block, we risk a disorder charge that spikes Klein's rider. The crowd looks to me like I am the part of the sky that decides weather. I swallow. Inside, the bread rises. Don't bully. Guide. Neighbors, I say, voice low but caring. We are not going to block the door. We are going to watch. We are going to document. We are going to sing so loud that the vinyl curls. Laughter breaks the panic like sugar breaking a fall. We step back, phones up, voices up. The workers move toward the door. Then a hand touches my sleeve. It's Maven Helper in the flesh. A young person with a backpack and eyes that have seen too much PowerPoint. They whisper, urgent, scared. They're not just installing, they say. At midnight, Helios plans a soft open with security and free drinks to flip the narrative. And Sloan, there's a deck scheduled to leak in the morning. A deepfake, you saying, burn it down. My lungs forget their job. My vision narrows to the sliver between now and disaster. I look up at the door, at the workers crossing the threshold, at the neighborhood holding its breath. Midnight is close, morning is closer, and somewhere in Helios's servers, a false version of me is almost awake. The word deep fake sticks in my brain like a splinter. I can't shake it. Someone, somewhere, is rendering a digital ghost of me. An image that drinks coffee, speaks my voice, and burns everything I've built. If I stay silent, that ghost tells my story. If I speak, they'll say I'm lying to save face. Either way, the clock is bleeding toward midnight. The crowd outside Bluefinch doesn't know yet. The choir hums softly, the brass players polishing valves under the fairy lights. It almost looks peaceful until you notice the corporate trucks idling at the curb, engines whispering power. Lydia squeezes my arm. You don't have to stay here tonight, she says. I do, I answer. If they drop that video, I need to face it live. Priya is already 2 steps ahead. We can set up a time-stamped stream, she says. Continuous, raw. If a fake shows up, the world will see you here at the same time. Danny grabs a tripod. We're filming from 3 angles, multiple devices, multiple clouds. They can fake your face, but they can't fake this night. For a moment, I almost cry. But tears feel too private for a revolution. 10:37 p.m., the live stream goes up. Finch Community Vigil, night before the rebrand. People from other cities join in, messages scrolling like prayers. We see you, stay strong, Portland is watching. Someone passes around thermoses of cinnamon cocoa. The air smells like sugar and rebellion. Across the street, Morning Maven's windows glow with renovation lights. Inside, silhouettes move like ghosts in choreographed denial. I take the mic, my voice low and even. They'll tell you stories about me tonight, I say. But we have our own story, and it's louder. The crowd cheers. The feed hits 10,000 viewers, then 20. And then, right on cue, 11:59 p.m., my phone buzzes. Ria's text, they dropped it. The link is everywhere within minutes. A grainy video of me standing in front of Bluefinch, screaming, "Burn it down, make them pay." Firelight flickers across my face. Too bright, too cinematic. It looks real enough to break hearts. The comments explode. Is this her? Looks AI. She lost it. Corporate setup. Priya gasps. They faked the fire. I look at Lydia. She's already typing. Metadata, she mutters. We'll trace the upload chain. Ria zooms her camera in on my face. Say something, she whispers. Now. I look straight into the lens. If you see that video, know this. I'm standing here, right now, with every neighbor in Portland watching this feed live. No fires, no violence. Just people who refuse to vanish. Danny pans the camera to the crowd. Hundreds of hands rise, waving flashlights. A river of light, proving we exist. 1:14 a.m. The fake video stalls. Platforms start flagging it. Tech blogs pick it apart. Mismatched timestamps, pixel glitches, reflections that don't line up. By 2, deepfake Finch trends higher than the fake itself. But then the trucks rumble again. Doors slide open. Security guards step out in black polos with company lanyards. Helios's logo catching the streetlight. Chad, the regional manager, raises his voice. We're commencing pre-opening prep. Please clear the area. Lydia steps forward. You're under active injunction. The forgery case is live. He smiles, thin. Show me a marshal. I step up beside her. You really want to do this on camera, Chad? He glances at the live stream lens. 10,000 viewers, and counting. His jaw tightens. We have orders. So do I say softly. From the people who built this corner. The choir starts humming again. The brass players lift their instruments like shields. Chad hesitates. He looks at the crowd. Parents, teens, retirees, baristas, artists. An old man in pajamas holding a mug. Nobody moves. Nobody yells. We just are. Finally, he lowers his clipboard. We'll return in the morning, he says, retreating into his truck. The engines pull away, one by one. The air breaks open like a sigh. At 3 a.m., Ria's live stream hits 1.2 million views. My words loop on TikTok. They can turn off the lights. They can't turn off witnesses. Morning Maven's PR page collapses under comments. Helios's stock dips 2 points by sunrise. By 6 a.m., Lydia calls with a voice shaking, not from fear, but awe. The city issued an emergency hold, she says. The sale is frozen pending investigation. Klein's emails leaked. He knew about the forgery. Sloan, you did it. I sit on the curb, dawn fog curling around my sneakers. The air smells like wet brick and new beginnings. Danny drops beside me, hair frizzy, eyes red. You realize, she says, you're trending higher than Taylor Swift right now. I laugh. Then we should release an album. Noon. Press everywhere. Marianne stands beside me at the podium, voice steady as she admits her part and vows transparency reforms in Oregon's notary process. Ria films every second. Lydia reads the city's statement. Pending verification of fraudulent conveyance, the premises of Bluefinch Coffee shall remain under community stewardship. It's not victory, it's breathing room. I step up to the mic. I thought revenge meant fire, I say. Turns out it means sunlight. Applause rolls like thunder. Then I do the only thing that feels right. I pull a paper bag from under the podium. Inside, one small bag of beans, our original roast. I tear the top and let the scent drift into the microphones. This, I say, is what we fought for. Something small, honest, impossible to fake. I look out at the faces. Danny, Priya, Jax, Mateo, Ria, Lydia, Marianne, and the crowd that became a movement. Bluefinch was never about coffee, I say. It was about proof of life. Later that week, the court voids the sale. Helios withdraws under federal scrutiny. Klein resigns from the zoning board. Evan pleads guilty to forgery and gets probation plus restitution. He sends me a letter I never open. The café stays ours, not as Bluefinch, but as the Common Ground Café, owned by a cooperative of 243 members. Our sign is plain wood, hand-lettered. Our chalkboard is back, smudged fingerprints and all. Sometimes customers still ask, "Weren't you the woman from that viral video?" I smile. "Yeah," I say, "but this is the real one." When the last shift ends and the city outside sighs itself to sleep, I lock the door with a key that turns smoothly, perfectly. Inside, the espresso machine hums, faithful, alive. And for the first time in forever, I don't feel like I'm brewing a comeback. I'm just brewing coffee. Because revenge wasn't the fire. It was the truth that refused to burn. The court order lives on our bulletin board like a talisman. Sale void. Possession preserved. Every morning, I touch the paper for luck, then go back to scrubbing grout, calling vendors, and teaching myself not to flinch when the door chime rings. We renamed the place the Common Ground Café, and hand-painted the sign on a cheap afternoon, a brush trembling in Mateo's steady hand, while I held the ladder and pretended my heart didn't pound. The letters are a little crooked. So am I. 2 weeks after the freeze, the fiscal sponsor releases the funds. We replace scorched outlets, patch drywall where the chain's vinyl pulled paint like skin, and bring home my La Marsacco. A reunion that feels like returning a heartbeat to a chest. When the boiler sighs, I do too. It's almost cute how earnest you are, Danny teases, sliding me a to-do list with weaponized bullet points. Try not to agree to 3 media interviews before lunch. I agree to 2. Progress. Our first member meeting packs the room, 243 owners, most of whom have never owned anything beyond a bike and a stubborn dream, crammed between mismatched chairs and the pastry case, like we're a band trying to fit into a practice garage. Jax writes 1 member, 1 vote on the chalkboard in letters so big even doubt can't miss them. Priya projects the bylaws onto a bedsheet and runs point like she's been governing her whole life. We argue about meaningful things: living wage floors, tip pooling, wholesale prices, compost, disability access, whether birds with boxing gloves are brand-appropriate mural content. We argue about silly things too. Playlist veto power, the correct number of plants before it looks like a jungle influencer moved in. I float between tables, a shepherd with a permanent coffee stain. Every time I start to sentence with I stop and give it to we. When the vote closes, we cheer like we just won a playoff game. The bylaws pass. The mural gets 3 birds, 2 with tiny gloves. The wage floor is real. I cry in the mop closet and blame the chemicals. Of course, Helios doesn't leave. They recede like a tide that waits for a darker moon. Roasters start emailing apologies. Due to recent changes in distribution policy, back-ordered unexpectedly, out of an abundance of caution. Translated, someone made phone calls, squeeze the supply chain, watch the indie starve. I call Mira in Seattle, a direct trade roaster who once crashed on my couch to save on a hotel for a coffee expo. She answers from a warehouse that sounds like a drumline. Sloan, babe, I saw the streams. You're a storm. Helios is trying to make me a drought, I say. Can you float me for a month on net 60? And maybe teach me to roast? There's a quick cough that might be a laugh, might be a sob. Net 90, and I'll drive the pallets down myself. You can pay me in memes and a guest spot on your next live stream. And yes, I'll teach you. But if you scorch a single batch, I'm telling Twitter. Deal, I say. Breath returns. Rhea shows up with a camera and a question I didn't see coming. People are asking about you and Evan, she says, voice careful. There's gossip he tried to turn state's evidence. He forged my name like it was practice, I say. He can turn whatever he wants. She lowers the camera. I mean for you. Closure's different when it knocks in a suit. I chew that sentence like bad ice. That night, an envelope appears on my welcome mat. No return address, a smeared postmark. Inside, a 1-sentence apology. I was weak. You were strong. I am trying to be useful now. No signature. Evan anyway. I put the note in a drawer. I don't forgive. Not yet. Maybe not ever, but the truth. There's a tiny, hateful relief in knowing he's not actively aiming the gun anymore. Maven helper texts from a new number. Can we meet IRL? Safe place. Need counsel. We pick a public park at noon. The kind of field where dogs sprint and nobody cares if your life is breaking apart because the sun finally came out. They arrive in a hoodie and nervous shoes. They're younger than I expected, eyes full of fluorescent office light. I'm Ash, they say, voice small. Data science contractor. Helios hired my team to build an internal brand sentiment optimizer. We monitor indie shops for signals, then map acquisition fitness. I feel a cold flare. How did the deepfake happen? Ash swallows. They outsourced reputation normalization to a vendor called Signal Vista. A shadow team handled negative virality. 2 weeks before your takeover, a task ticket appeared. Prepare counter-narrative asset. Target. Archer. Sloan. I thought it was a meme thing. Then I saw the model weights and audio samples. Someone inside uploaded a voice pack labeled Barista Arch. From your podcast guest spots, your press hits, Instagram stories, you gave them authenticity. They spun straw. Lydia listens with a face like a blade being honed. Do you have logs? Ash nods. I pulled TSVs and a signed job manifest before my badge disabled. It ties Signal Vista to Helios's risk unit. There's also an internal email thread, subject Skylark interference, where an exec says, if community persists, drip the asset. They look up. I'm already on a cease and desist. I need whistleblower protection. Rhea switches her camera off. Lydia puts her phone down. I reach for Ash's hand. You're not alone, I say. But if we use this, it needs to be clean. Chain of custody, redactions, counsel. Ash nods. They hand Lydia a USB drive disguised as a lip balm. On it, the spark that could burn a corporation without scorching us. Thank you, I say. Stay with friends, different routes home. Eat something green. That's an order. They almost smile. It's the bravest thing I see all week. We set the date for soft open, common ground, a Sunday at dusk, the hour when even skeptics like to believe. The neighborhood shows up dressed like optimism. Marianne brings a tray of lemon bars with a post-it. Transparency tastes like citrus. Counselor Ortega carries a plant that looks like it could fight if it had to. Mira arrives with 2 burlap sacks and a grin that says, dare me. I fasten my apron, a slate gray wrap that makes me feel like the head chef of my own heart, and take the line. 2 cappuccinos, 1 decaf pour-over, 3 macchiatos, Danny calls, voice a clipped metronome. We dance, hands remember heat. Milk sings. I look up and see something ordinary and precious. A couple quietly holding hands, a kid reading a comic, an old man inhaling the cup before he sips. Proof of life, brewed fresh. The playlist is a little too loud. The register drawer sticks once. The bathroom line is a parade. It's perfect. Ria's camera floats, catching faces, catching light. Jack scrawls a welcome poem on the chalkboard in 3 lines that make a teenager cry and then laugh at themselves for crying. Ash slips in late, hat low. They give me a small nod from the corner. I nod back. At 7, Lydia taps her watch. We prepped a brief segment. No accusations, just context. A community's right to its own name and story. The ethics of synthetic media. The courage to document. Keep it soft, she says. We're feeding a fire with oxygen, not gasoline. I step to the mic. Welcome to Common Ground, I begin, smiling. We're a block, not a brand. We serve coffee, not compliance. Tonight is for us, and for the record. The room hums, and then the fire alarm screams. It's a ripping, metallic wail that cuts the evening clean in half. Sprinklers stutter, then open in a silver rain. People gasp and duck, cups shatter. The mural birds look like they're crying. Everybody out, calm and quick, Danny shouts, hands up. Moving bodies like she's been training for this. Mateo pulls the breaker. Priya grabs the lockbox. I sprint for the back to kill the water main. As I hit the hallway, my sneaker slaps something metal near the storage rack. A small black device, coin thin, with a red LED winking like an eye that knows too much. A phone jammer? A signal trigger? My stomach drops through the floor. I scoop it into a to-go cup and keep running. The shutoff valve groans. Water slows. Alarms don't. In the front, Ortega is already on her phone with the fire department and city facilities. Lydia barks into the megaphone. This is a targeted disruption. We are safe. We are outside. Ria's camera catches streaks of water, reflections like constellations smeared. I stand in the doorway, soaked, shaking, furious, and very, very clear. They didn't come for the coffee this time. They came for the night. I turn to Ash. They're pale, eyes fixed on the little red light blinking inside the paper cup in my hand. I recognize that hardware, they whisper. Signal Vista runs trigger tests with the same model. Sloan. Someone in this room knew when to set it off. My skin goes cold. I look at the wet floor, at the dripping ceiling, at the faces I love and the few I don't know. At the door we kept open. Outside, sirens grow louder. And in my hand, the red light keeps winking. 1, 2, 3. As if counting down to a story I'm not ready to hear. The sirens melt into the night like a warning that learned how to breathe. Water drips from the ceiling in sync with my heartbeat. In my hand, the red light keeps blinking, steady, defiant, alive. Lydia crouches beside me, her eyes sharp, her voice low. Don't touch anything else, bag it. We'll call evidence control. But the paranoia slides into my spine. If there's one, there could be more. Ash paces near the doorway, muttering code words like prayers. Model 23C trigger. Radio burst activated on cellular. It's a proximity sync, not a timer. In English, I say. It means someone here sent the signal, they whisper. Wireless, manual, not remote. The words hit harder than the alarm. Someone inside Common Ground flipped the switch. Outside, the fire trucks arrive, flashing blue and red, washing our soaked faces in guilt that isn't ours. The firefighters sweep the café, confirm no flame, no hazard, just a sabotaged alarm and a flooded floor. They call it vandalism. I call it a message. The cops ask the usual. Any enemies? Recent threats? I almost laugh. Pick a number, I say. But one officer, older, with eyes like weathered glass, pauses as he writes. Most arsons don't start with fake alarms, he says. Whoever did this wanted you scared, not gone. When they leave, I stand in the empty cafe, wet, humming, smelling like burnt sugar and wet wood. Ria's camera is off for once. The silence feels heavier without it. Lydia finally speaks. We'll send the device for analysis. If Signal Vista built it, we'll know. Ash nods, pale. They use these during internal tests. I'll find the serial hashes. Do it carefully, Lydia says. We're past the part of the story where accidents are believable. Dawn breaks like mercy. I sit outside on the curb, shivering in a borrowed blanket, watching fog roll down Alberta Street. The city feels different now, too still, like the breath before thunder. Danny hands me a mug of black coffee. Strong enough to burn feelings, she says. I sip. It tastes like smoke and home. Whoever it was, she murmurs. They want us to think it's over. It isn't. No, I say. It's changing shape. Priya steps out, her tablet wrapped in plastic. I scan the camera feeds, she says. 2 blind spots during the alarm, both near the back hallway, just where that thing was planted. Could be an inside job, Danny asks. Priya's lips press thin. Could be someone we trusted to know where the cameras didn't reach. I close my eyes, trying not to see the faces. Our cafe has become a heartbeat of the city, but a heartbeat can have murmurs. By noon, the press gets wind. Headlines bloom faster than apologies. Sabotage at common ground. Activists targeted? From viral hero to security threat? Both wrong, both useful to someone. Helios issues a brief statement calling for de-escalation. That's corporate for please stop looking. Ria films a short response. Just me, sitting on a stool, speaking into calm. I built this place for community, I say. Someone tried to turn that into fear. But fear doesn't live here. We check it at the door. It goes viral in 4 hours. By evening, locals show up with mops, towels, buckets. Hands ready, not questions asked. One man I've never met says, "You gave us something to believe in. We're not letting it drown." I almost lose it right there, in the middle of the mess, surrounded by strangers who've decided they're mine. Lydia gets the lab report 3 days later. The device, custom firmware, commercial shell. Bought with Helios subsidiary credit, traced to a Signal Vista prototype order. Not admissible yet, she says, but damning in daylight. Ash messages me. Confirmed. Device code signed by Signal Vista dev key. They covered tracks, but sloppily. It links to Skylark. Then another line. One of my former teammates, someone named Bree, was in Portland that night. She's still contracting for them. I think she planted it. The word she lodges under my ribs. Can you reach her? I text. A long pause. Then, maybe, she listens to guilt. We meet in a park again. Same benches, different ghosts. Bree arrives with sunglasses and attention that could cut paper. Ash stays a few feet behind, watching like a reluctant guardian. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, Bree says before I can speak. They said it was a test. Just a panic trigger, nothing dangerous. They didn't tell me you'd be there. I'm always there, I say quietly. It's my home. She nods, tears gathering. They paid me double to set it. I needed the money, rent, meds, you know the drill. Then I saw the live stream. I saw the kid crying in the doorway. She hands me a small black USB drive. This is the field ops folder. Directives, chain orders, payment slips, enough to bury them. Lydia takes it gently, gloved hands steady. Will you testify? Bree swallows hard. If it helps me sleep again, yes. Ash steps forward, hand on Bree's shoulder. Then we're both out, they say. Together. Something in me unclenches. The red light in my memory finally fades. A month later, the Common Ground Café becomes something more than a cafe. The city grants historic protection status, first of its kind for cultural resilience. We start hosting Skillshare Sundays, where baristas teach coding basics, and tech workers learn how to pour a perfect heart in milk foam. Ria's documentary wins a short film award. Lydia starts consulting for other community takeovers. Ash and Bree work with a whistleblower group called Signal Ethics, teaching others how to fight digital sabotage. And me? I still open the cafe at 6:30 every morning. Still burn the first espresso out of superstition. Still wipe the same counter. Only now it smells less like loss and more like memory. Sometimes I glance at the chalkboard wall, now full of names. People write their own stories there. No brands, no filters. Just handwriting, messy, human, real. One night, as the cafe hums low and soft, a woman in a suit steps in. Expensive fabric, cautious smile. "Ms. Archer," she asks. "I represent Helios Brand's new board. They've dismantled Signal Vista. The CEO resigned. The board wants to offer an apology and a settlement." I wipe my hands on a towel. "How much?" She names a number that could erase every debt I've ever touched. "And what do you want in return?" I ask. "Silence," she says. "No memoir, no speaking tour, just peace." I laugh, quiet, tired, free. "You're too late," I say. "Peace doesn't need hush money." She looks like she might argue, then doesn't. She leaves the envelope anyway. I donate every cent to a legal fund for small businesses hit by corporate fraud. Because revenge isn't always fire, it's refusing to sell your silence. The next morning, Danny tapes a new quote above the register. They wanted a brand. We built a belonging. Customers read it, smile, nod, and I pour another cup, steady hands, no tremor. Outside, the sunrise stains the wet pavement gold. Inside, steam curls like forgiveness. I whisper to the room that started it all. We did it, and we're still doing it. Because justice isn't a headline, it's a refill.